Hey, it's Nate, and today I am doing Into My Arms by Nick Cave and TheBadSeeds. This is such a gorgeous song and such a special raw recording with just piano, bass, and vocals. And it's got some of my favorite opening verse lyrics of all time. The chord progressions are pretty simple, and first I'll show you a basic but great sounding version. But then we can build on that and incorporate the left hand arpeggios and right hand melodies that he plays. Let's jump in. All right, so first off, I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. There's a link down in the description that's going to help you follow along and see where the chord changes line up with the words. And I want to mention that this song is in the key of C major, so all white keys, and this is middle C, so you get the octave right. For a few reasons, I'm going to skip over the intro for now. We'll come back for that at the end. But let's just look at the first verse. Here are the chords for that. It might look a little bit overwhelming, but it's mostly just the same thing over and over again. First, we've got an F over C, and we're voicing it the same way in each hand. So we've got a C, an F, and an A. And then in the left hand, I'm just doing the same thing an octave lower. I'm using my second finger for the F there though. It's not very often that we voice the full chords in the left hand. This is up high enough that it's not muddy, and we need all these notes to do the arpeggios later. Okay, so there are two measures of the F over C, and we're in 4/4 time, so each of these measures gets 4 counts. Now for my basic chord version, I'm just gonna pulse on quarter notes in the right hand. So the first two measures would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then to C for a measure. And we can just do root position C, C, E, G, same thing in the left hand, or you could just do the fifths for now if you're not doing the arpeggios. I don't believe in an interventionist God. Okay, then we got. So this is kind of a signature moment in the song, these little turnarounds here. And the chord that makes that all happen is this G over B. So for the right hand voicing, I got a B, a D, and a G. Second finger there again. It's an inversion on G. Now for the left hand, I'm just gonna do the outside notes. This happens really quickly. There's no arpeggio on the full chord, so I'm gonna do it like that with just B and G. And rhythmically here, that little dash after the first C in that measure is another count of C. So it's C, 2, 3. So the G over B is on beat 3, and then we're back up to C on beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we land in another F over C. And this line is just like the first. But I know, darling, that you do. 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But if I did, I would kneel down to ask him. So now, here's a line where he doesn't actually do that. He just hits the C, and you can hit it on that rhythm, sort of emphasize the 3, 4, 1, and that is the case for this line and the next. So now we're on not to intervene when it came to you, and so same thing here. Well, not to touch a hair on your head. So this is sort of like the pre-chorus section here, I would say. It starts with the F over C, yet again, head. This time only for one measure though. 2, 3, 4, D minor now. Really nice chord change there. So that's just gonna be D, F, A. Just gonna do it in each hand. If he felt he had to direct you. So we've got a G here. We're doing an inversion of it here, D, G, and B. And in the left hand, I'm only gonna do the G and the B. It's tempting to add in the D there because it's the same shape as the F, but he does not hit that D. And when we do arpeggios, we just kind of do it on those two notes. And this part's a little funky. We've got the G, 2, E minor, 2, and then back to G. So for the E minor in the right hand, you just got to move that first finger up to E, E, G, B, and hit the E single bass note there before going right back to G. And I have two measures of the G written out here, but when you get to that G, it just hits the first count and then it just rings out. But if you count to 4 twice for the two measures, that is the right amount of time before the chorus hits. So one more time on that line. not to touch a hair on your head, leave you as you are. If he felt he had to direct you, then direct you into my arms. Into my arms. That would be the chorus. By the way, if it feels like there's a little bit of color and harmony missing from this part, the electric bass on the recording does, which is kind of striking. But it sounds great on bass, but it didn't sound great to me when I tried to work it into my piano arrangement. So let me just do a full playthrough of that first verse structure using this simple blocked out chord approach. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't believe in an interventionist God. But I know, darling, that you do. But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you. Well, not to touch a hair on your head, leave you as you are. If he felt he had to direct you, then direct you into my arms. Okay, let's look at that chorus. Here's the chords for that. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord. So you already know it. Just D minor for 2 measures, and then C for 2 measures. Arms, bo, do, do. I'll show you how to do the piano melody soon. Okay, then we are in verse 2. Here's the chorus for that. Couple things I want to point out. Notice that just like the first verse, it starts with 4 times through that main sort of chord progression, but in the first verse, it did the twice before doing the just stay on C twice. This time it's back and forth. So that's just noted on your chords and lyrics sheet. I don't know if he planned that out or that's just what he happened to play when the tape was rolling. But there is a weird thing about the last line this time. You see the little 2-4 on the E minor. You stay on the G chord longer in this verse, and I think that's just to accommodate more lyrics. Well, to each burn a candle for you, to make bright and clear your path, and to walk like Christ in grace and love and guide you into my arms. So it's just 2 extra counts on G. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's still 2 counts on E minor, but we can structure it like it's its own measure of 2/4 time just to make it work out. Okay, then we have another chorus just like the first one. Then we have the third verse. It looks like this. Once again, it's alternating how the main verse lines end, and then we are back to the G and E minor being in the same measure. Okay, cool. So that is all you need to know for the underlying chord structure of the song. And like I said, you could totally play a version where you just play and sing it like this. If you do that, you could add a little bit more rhythm in the left hand, like playing on the off counts. 4 and 1, something like that. But now I will go into the left hand arpeggio that he's playing, and then there's some cool right hand details as well. So I thought a lot about what to teach for the arpeggio. He's really loose and spontaneous with it. It would be a fool's errand to try to learn exactly what he plays through this whole recording, 'cause he's all over the place, and live he would play it totally differently. He's always sort of playing at and implying this pattern. Sometimes he plays it full like that, but often he varies it and plays it more like this. A little bit more kind of stripped back, and then he'll sort of sometimes switch the order. I find it quite a bit easier to play with the steady pattern just on every 8th note, and it sounds a bit more full for solo piano as well. Remember, on the recording there is bass as well, adding in some energy and movement. So let's work with the full consistent pattern at first while I show you the right hand details. Then I'll show you how to pare it back a little bit more like he does. Let's practice that pattern just on a C major chord. So the pattern is on eighth notes. So we're dividing the beat in half, thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're playing on every note, bottom, top, middle, top. That's the whole pattern, and then it repeats to fill out the measure. Bottom, top, middle, top. You can be a little loose when you do it. Maybe rotate your wrist a little bit. If you're classically trained, you'll probably already be really good at this. This is a very common, the Alberti bass pattern. And of course, on the F over Cs, we're going to use our second finger for the middle note. Okay, so let's look at a verse. We can look at verse 1. And the right hand part is very sparse. For the whole F over C section, you're just holding it. I don't believe in an interventionist God. So there's this extra chord he usually does on the and after 3. It's kind of cool. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and then we can do the 3, 4, 1. I know, darling, that just holding it. 2, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him. Not to intervene when it came to you. Well, not to touch a hair on you. So for those, you can either continue the arpeggio if it's easier, or you can just hit together, depending on what effect you're going for. Touch a hair on your head, leave you as you are. So for these, we're gonna lean into that 3, 4, 1, like we were doing before. Head, leave you as you are. If he felt he had to direct you, then so here we just do the back and forth and hold the G for the 2 counts. 1 and 2 and then 3, 4. You can just hit together before hitting the G. Direct you, then direct you into my arms. Into my arms, oh Lord. Okay, so let's look at the chorus because there's some cool new stuff we can do with that. So for the chorus, the way Nick plays it, we are not doing any full chords in the right hand. We're actually just playing a melody. We're playing the vocal melody. Here's the notes and rhythms for that. And for right now, I've just got the chords at the bottom for the left hand to play. We'll add the arpeggio back in a sec. But just note that the chorus starts on the D minor, but the melody starts a little bit earlier on pickup notes. That's at the end of those 2 measures of G where you're ringing out at the end of the verses. So starting on beat 3 of that last measure of G, you've got G, F, E, F. That's 3 and 4 and 1, landing on D there. I'm using my 5th finger to start that melody. Into my arms, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And of course, that's on Oh Lord. So you can really just hang it on the vocals. And now I'm gonna just move my right hand down, and it does the exact same thing, starting from F. Into my arms, oh Lord. Then it goes back to the first thing. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. Now this time, it does not do the oh Lord. It starts a new melody, and that's going to be B, D, C, E, D. So just on the quarter notes, right on the regular counts. And that's on 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the counts. If you're thinking fingers, it's 1, 3, 2, 4, 3. And it sounds really nice when you add in the arpeggio. into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. Of course, that's leading into the next verse. And one other detail you can totally do here is on the recording, the bass doubles the into my arms. So it's really thick. The vocals, bass, and piano are all doing it. I'm not going to jump my left hand down. I'm going to keep it set up for the arpeggio, but I think it sounds really good to just add. And once you get to the bottom of the D there, you can just start doing the arpeggio. And the way that your hand is positioned after playing the G at the end of the verse, your second finger is already on the starting note. It can be a little bit confusing to start the melody on the fifth finger in your right hand and the second finger in your left, but that's what works best and you'll get used to it. Okay, cool. So for verse 2, there's not too much to talk about. I just want to note that as the song goes on, it gets a little bit more energetic, a little bit bigger. The song grows. And he starts throwing in a little bit more right-hand chords on the F over C, because before I said just hold it the whole time. So he might do something like, and I don't believe in the existence of angels. But there's a bunch of places that just chords sound good there. You can do as many rhythms as you want. And like I said, like the bass is on the recording doing more rhythms. So if you want to just add a little bit more chordage there on the F over C, I think that sounds good. Then we got another chorus, and I do want to mention at the end of the second chorus going into the third verse, there's a little bit more of a melody in the right hand to really lead into the climactic third verse. It sounds like this from halfway through the chorus. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. But I believe in love. So instead of just, there's a little eighth note, E, after the D. And then it steps to F. That would be the first beat of the next verse. And you just do that single F instead of landing on the chord, because then you hit the full chord on the and after 2. Let me do that again. Into my arms. But I believe in love. Okay, so then you have that third verse. Final chorus is just like the other ones. The one thing I will say is there's a little bit of a slowdown at the end, so from the second half of that chorus. Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. You can just land on the C chord in the left there like that, and then the song is over. But, of course, we have a little bit more to talk about. And I am going to do the intro, I promise. But first, one more thing. Let's just look at the way that he typically plays the arpeggio when it's a little bit more stripped down and not that full figure. So I'm going to do this for my version for the first verse. And then once we get to the chorus, I'm going to start just consistently doing that pattern. Like I said, I think the full pattern sounds really good, but I don't want to dismiss the more sporadic arpeggio playing, because this is a really magical recording, and it's hard to know what elements are creating that magic, and you run the risk of changing things and kind of ruining the vibe. And so I think the more sporadic, kind of timid arpeggio playing his left hand does might be contributing to the sort of vulnerable feel of the song. So most of what I hear is him not playing the top note of the arpeggio on the and after 1 and the and after 3. So instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I don't believe in an interventionist God. but he switches it up a lot, seemingly without a pattern. Sometimes he does this, sometimes he does that, changes the notes up. Sometimes he'll just do a few quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, like that. So if you want to play it with this vibe, just keep it loose. You can switch it around, play it differently every time. Like I said, it's easier to have the consistent thing and get the muscle memory going. So maybe as you get to know the song really well, and the finishing touch could be just letting your left hand do whatever it wants. So I'm going to be doing this sparser pattern on the first verse. And also to note on the first verse is he only does the bottom notes of the chords, the F and the C. So you can leave out the top note for the first verse, really for whichever version you do. I thought I'd mention that here. So we'd have, I don't believe in an interventionist God. And I would do it that way through most of that first verse. Well, not to touch a hair on your head, leave you as you are. Once you get to the D minor, you can start doing the full chords. He's not totally consistent with it. It's hard to tell when those top notes start creeping in, but the main thing is to just keep it sparse at the beginning of the first verse with just the 2 notes, and then start adding the top notes of the chords when it feels right to you. Okay, so now I am going to talk about the intro. Here are the chords for that. So if you're going to do a more basic version, you already know how to play this. It's just that it starts kind of at the end of a incomplete verse line where we get that turnaround starting on the G over B to the C and then to the F over C. So you could think 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then yeah, it's just like 2 times through the verse progression as we've been doing it. But he does something a bit more involved here with a right hand melody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you the right hand melody, and you can put that on top of the arpeggio if you want. But then finally, this will be the one place where I will just show you note for note what he does with the left hand, because it's kind of all over the place, but it's just a couple of lines for the intro, and I wanted to have the option to just reproduce what he played. So here's what the right hand's going to do, and the left can kind of follow along with the basic chords here. So this is what you would expect, just chart it out. And then notice for the F over C, we're not adding the A. It's just those 2 fingers in the right. And we're going to hit on 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and before the left hand moves to the C. Again, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. So again, just the bottom 2 notes of the C chord there on the and after 3. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this part's a little interesting. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. So you're playing on every offbeat there, starting on the and after 2. A bunch of C's. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3. So the and after 2 that time for the C chord, just the bottom 2 notes. And then we finish it up with a turnaround before going into the first verse. Once you learn this right hand part, you could just add in that left hand arpeggio. It would sound like this. But here is exactly what he plays for the left hand. And I'm going to go a little quick here, but we've got that's as expected. And then we hit A on beat 2. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So you wait a little while and just do 4 and coming up this F chord, 4 and then starting on the and after 1, we have this back and forth between A and F. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, then we land in the C fifths and start that sparser arpeggio. But he does switch the order of the G and E that third time before. Let me do that one more time and then we can add in the right. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. So with the right hand, it's going to sound something like this. So while he's just doing all these C's on the ands, mercifully he is just doing quarter notes in the left hand. So we've got the A and C here, and then we've got A, C, F, A, F, A, C. And that is a little easier to coordinate here. We've got 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3. So here, 1, we've got the G and C, and then instead of just going straight back to that pattern, it does that E on beat 2, hit on the end after 2, and then G on beat 3. So just for a little bit longer here, it does just on quarter notes in the left hand. 1, 2, and 3, and then da 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 da. So right at the end there, it snaps back into the fuller arpeggio pattern. This is really pretty confusing. I wanted to include it just in case someone really wanted to learn the intro, but you don't have to learn this note for note. You can just do it like I did before. So one more slow playthrough of this full intro the way he did it. That would be going into the first verse. Okay, thank you for sticking with me. I am now going to do a full playthrough so you can see how all these parts we talked about fit together in the full song. I'm going to do the intro, the note for note what he played way, but there are simpler options I went over. And then for the first verse, I'm going to do the more sparse, deconstructed left-hand arpeggio that he does. And then once we hit the first chorus, I'm going to be doing the full steady arpeggio pattern, and I'm going to do that pattern for the rest of the song from there on out. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. It helps YouTube know to show it to more people, and that helps me out. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the bell so you know when I put out more videos like this one. Okay, here's my version of Into My Arms. I don't believe in an my arms, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms. But I believe in love, and I know that you do too. And I believe in some kind of path that we can walk down, me and you. So keep your candles burning, make a journey bright and pure, that you'll keep returning always and evermore. Into my arms, oh Lord, into